All right, welcome back to another edition of This Week in Pro Wrestling with your host, Mike Monty, and the great Jimmy Farrow. Jimmy, how are you?
Good, brother. What's happening? How are you?
We're lucky enough to be filming out of the great Tin Mirror Studios in Kings Park with probably the most outstanding producer in the history of producers, the great Abe. Jimmy.
Here, here. Here, here.
Real quick, little recap. The channel is really starting to push out some really solid material. We've got the Player Unplugged, which did a little sex video yesterday. Not him personally having sex, but he had a sex.
Wait a minute.
Well, he had a sex expert on.
All right, Mike. I'm out of here. Have a nice day. Later.
We got True Crime, which did really well. Obviously, you got the main show, Monty and Farrow, and we've got a Jeopardy show that's starting soon. But the most recent addition, who's actually got some dirt sheet pushes, Missy Beefcake with Jake the Snake Roberts' daughter. Thoughts on that? Did you watch any of it, sir?
I got to see some of it. I was scrambling after work, but I did pick up enough to get a really good feel about it. She knocked it out of the park. I thought Missy did an outstanding job. That was fantastic. It felt very real, and isn't that what we're after, Mike? That was fantastic. And by the way, Brandy, I am a huge fan. What is this about cannabis lemonade? Oh my God!
I knew you were gonna get your hooks into that one, man. Get me some cannabis lemonade.
Yeah.
I guess it's up for old Monty to go get some sponsorship from Cannabis Lemonade.
I expect a case of something, Mike, in the mail. Thank you.
Well, the big problem is I've got to convince the bots to help us out on that. So I'll never get off of that, by the way.
Well, you shouldn't, because let me tell you something. I've been learning. The bots we can manipulate those bots. We'll get the deal. We'll get it.
We can manipulate
it. Yeah, we're all over it.
She mentioned, did you know that Marty Jannetty got married? I don't know if we had spoke, so I don't know if I ever told you.
We haven't talked about it. It popped up on my Facebook page. I was like, what is this? I was like, wow, that's awesome. It shocked the shit out of me, though, I'll tell you that. And then I'm like, wait a minute, Missy's doing the ceremony? I'm like, well, surprise. I'm like, surprise. Wait a minute, does this mean Marty and I are wedding mates or something like that?
I actually wrote him, and I'm like, hey, Marty, first the Farrow, now you. What's going on in this world? And he's like, brother, we have to talk. And I just haven't had a chance to call him, but okay. But I got to tell you, obviously you're one of my most favorite people, and Marty is a good guy.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Nothing for nothing. He needs a new co-host, but look, I'll just leave it at that. I try not to say that stuff, but I have to.
I love when you plant these little seeds. Are you telling me I need to go watch something involving a party with Marty? Is that what you're saying?
Jimmy, if you do, I probably would have to say you might last about 2 minutes.
Oh boy, me and my attention span, or someone on there is really, really
well.
Awful.
If you could if you could get past the fact that the guy, I guess, during WrestleMania yelled out something and The Rock responded. The guy must have played that video 50,000 times. It's like, my God, at what point do we just stop being? You know what I mean?
Dork. Wrestle Dork. Let's create a new animated series. Wrestle Dork.
Please.
We could go for that. Hey, did I tell you I went to school with you? Did you know that? I actually went to school with you. I figured I'd mention it every week for the rest of the time.
Just stop. Never to be oblivion.
I did go to school with you, though. It's a fact. Go on.
I don't know if that's something to brag about, though, bro. It's nothing to get crazy about. You know what I mean? It's like, I went to school with Mike Monty, and
I did. Well, the rest is history. What's your history, wise guy? That's what I would say. Go ahead.
All right, man. A little wrestling, right? Because we're on the cut time, and the main show, we got the great Greg Gagne in there. And I got to be honest with you, Jim, before we get into This Week in Wrestling, again, I like to reveal some stuff. And Jimmy's really serious about this interview. I've got a vibe off of Jimmy that even Backlund.
No,
this is even a Backlund vibe. This is a very serious vibe you're giving me.
I think you're overdoing it by saying it's a Backlund thing, but it's close. That last name in this business, man,
Dude,
it's close.
After the last two conversations I've had with you, all of a sudden I started getting nervous. I'm like, I'm getting nervous now. Why am I getting nervous?
It's a good nervous. It's anticipation. He's a great name. Oh my God, this should be fantastic. Let's see what happens.
All right, before we start, shout out to the room, the great Benny Scala in, R.J. Hudson, Jason Morning, we love you. Loose Cannon, who on July 7th has the Mario Mancini at one of his card shows, which will be very cool.
Sweet.
Bruce from ESO Creative. Phil, Mr. President. Isban, always good to see you. Farrow, he writes, thoughts on Jack Swagger leaving AEW quickly?
Oh. I'm sorry. I got groggy for a second. That's what I think about Swagger. It's just always like the untapped potential. It's there, but I never see it really come to the forefront. It's almost a shame. What are you going to do?
Well, I guess, considering how well Dutch is doing on his podcast, maybe Jack Swagger needs that Dutch rub.
You think that he would actually be able to do something like that, though? Is he that interesting a guy?
I don't know, dude.
I don't see it. At least Yosemite Sam is a cartoon. I mean, I like watching Yosemite Sam.
I went back and forth with some guy on social media because they're like, why are you giving Dutch, I know some guy, I have to look up his name, but why are you guys always giving people a hard time? And he's like, Dutch. And I'm like, look, dude, Dutch to me was a nothing in wrestling. I swear to God, even when I was a kid, I saw a guy with a goofy mustache and a hairy back. Like, I never got it. I don't get it now. Now, again, I'm not going to say his podcasting skills are much better than his wrestling skills. But I have to laugh because Dutch Mantell knows everything about everything. I mean, again, how could you tell me what's going on between Linda and Vince McMahon? You heard a rumor. We heard a rumor. We read the dirt sheets too. But I guess if you're in the biz, you have more credibility, right?
I guess you certainly have an extra bit of leverage that people will take more stock in you because of what they perceive you have done. Dutch Mantell is not a nobody to me in his wrestling career. It's just that in the podcasting career, he's become obviously
iconic. He's very, agreed. Jim Cornette-esque, to be fair, right?
No, I don't put anybody with Jim Cornette. I think Jim Cornette is the greatest listen basically out there because he's just got motor mouth with a brain. I really do love listening to Cornette. See, you got me dropping my guard here.
All right, real quick then. Barry Horowitz or Dutch Mantell?
Who's more memorable to me? It's not even close. It's Barry Horowitz.
Okay, so end the conversation. That's how easy this was.
Wait a minute. What are you saying about Barry? Barry's the best.
I'm not saying it, but I'm saying I took the biggest jobber one of the big jobbers that WWE had, and he's still more memorable than Dutch Mantell. And
well, while we're at it, I mean, coming from where we came from in our memories, Brooklyn Brawler is too.
Absolutely.
How about them apples?
How about the Red Rooster? I'll go with the Red Rooster.
Hey, I'm ready to go with Frank Williams because he tried very hard.
Hey, Frankie Williams has one memorable moment that eclipsed Dutch Mantell's career.
Where's your Piper's Pit, bro?
No.
I agree.
You imagine if he was in the WWE, Piper would have shaved his back. That would have been awesome. Now, that would have been memorable. All right, so that real quick, Becky Lynch's contract reportedly expires on June 1st. That happens to be my birthday. I try not to announce that. Following her loss to the Women's World Champion Liv Morgan in a steel cage match on Monday night's episode of Raw, Becky Lynch is reportedly set to become a free agent. How her becoming a free agent, how does that affect the WWE? And let's not say she goes anywhere yet. She just leaves. She leaves wrestling to go watch her child. She's made plenty of money. She's going to tour around with her book. How does Becky Lynch leaving the WWE affect WWE?
The women's division is fantastic, Mike. I mean, when did you think I would ever so comfortably just throw that out there? But, the women have obviously earned their place in pro wrestling. And a lot of that goes back to when it all started with Evolution. To me, it was a slower crawl for me than it might have been for others, but they won't miss a beat. I mean, they have great stars coming up. They have a great division. Becky, I don't think is going to go anywhere. I think she's going to take time for her family, and I don't think she's going to go anywhere else. You know, when she resigns, she'll resign in a year or two if she feels the vibe and wants to come back. She's still young enough where she'll have enough of an impact when she does return. She could do this for the next 10 years. I could see Becky Lynch being a big deal. And look at what Trish Stratus did. How long has Trish Stratus been out of wrestling until in the recent years we've had her back from time to time? And how great is she? I think Becky's going to age well, is what I'm getting at, physically.
Where does Becky rank in the all-time greatest women pro wrestlers?
Becky has become the Stone Cold Steve Austin of women. All right. And stop me if you disagree with anything I'm saying, because I am curious to hear what you think about Becky's impact on this business. But Becky is the biggest star, period. It's probably sold the most merchandise in the history of women in the business, I would think. You know, she's at the top of the penthouse. You know, whether you're a fan of Becky Lynch or not, you can't deny what she's meant for pro wrestling. Come on, she's the man. She's the man. I mean, the man? Yeah, pretty much.
Jimmy, hard to argue with you. I think about Charlotte Flair when I think about the greatest. But if I think about bigger stars, I'm going to have to agree with you. Becky Lynch is a bigger star.
She is.
Than Charlotte Flair.
Charlotte is the greatest. Charlotte is the greatest total package ever. And I believe if you made me give my version of the top 10 women in the history of the business, Charlotte's going to stay at the top for me. That's not going to change. But you asked me what the impact was, and the impact is for now the most successful monetarily in business and merchandise and everything else woman in the history of the WWE is going away for a little bit. She'll be back. I'm not worried about it at all. The women's division is great. Well, give me more tips.
There are reports that Tony Khan is willing to make her the highest paid woman wrestler in the history of professional wrestling.
That's nice.
But let's just say supposedly this has happened and Lynch takes the contract. Does that now, especially with the addition of Monet, it's hard for me to even call her that.
Right.
Does that make it does AEW become a more powerful women's division?
It becomes what it always is. It takes big stars from other places, and then it fucks up the booking. I don't see it working over there. Oh, people also forget that the presentation you're seeing on a WWE program is a WWE presentation. I think by now it's safe to say that they know how to do intros. They know how to find the right music way more than not. All right. You're going to tell me Mercedes Moné intro and presentation on AEW and in ring, how it looks, the lighting, the cameras. You're going to tell me that looks like what it looked like back in her days as Sasha Banks in WWE with all those classic matches?
No, it's
Hell
not.
no.
But,
Hell no.
But there comes a point where if you have enough talent, you could start changing that, I'm assuming. Here's a quick question for you, because I was thinking about this too, right? We're friends. We're competitors. We like to compete, right? We competed when we were younger, when we could do it athletically. Obviously, we can't do it athletically anymore, or at least to the level that we're used to.
Right,
okay. To be fair. But,
yeah.
But, Jimmy and I compete still to this day. We compete with others, compete with each other, right? We're always challenging each other. There's nothing wrong with that. But here's a question for you. So Mercedes Moné goes on and does, the press conference, and she says, AEW is the place where it's to be. That's great. You're carrying a banner. That's all well and good. But then she makes a statement that she's the greatest wrestler of all time. This is what I was thinking, and I need your opinion on this. Everybody knows she's very close with Bayley, right? Very close friends. I don't know her relationship with other wrestlers, but just using Bayley for the example. When a wrestler says something like that, does the other wrestlers' creative juices start going and said, you know what? I'm going to stop being a cheerleader for you now, because now you're claiming to be the greatest. And, when this is all said and done, we'll still be friends, but I want to be the greatest. Do you think that goes through like a Bayley's mind?
That's a good question. I would like to think that since the curtain got torn open 30 years ago, when they do this sort of stuff, I would tend to think that they don't think anything of it. She's just working. She's just working. That's what she's doing. She's working. She's working herself. She's working her character. She's working.
But I think when you make that statement, there's something in your mind or in your heart that you truly believe this, right? You're just not saying it to say it. And when you do,
Right.
you're thinking to yourself, hey, look, this is my career too. And, I don't want to be second best.
Huh. I don't know. I don't know how Bayley would take that. I don't know. What do you think Bayley would do if she did feel that way? Would she get on a mic and address what Monet said?
I don't think she addresses her, but maybe she stops showing up at AEW events, hugging her and saying congratulations. Maybe it's like, maybe I need to focus on myself a little bit.
I hated that personally. I'm already on record that I hated that when they did that. Everybody thought that was great. Oh, why can't we all be friends? Yeah, right. We can't all be friends, okay? It's competition. And if I was the owners of WWE, I would have been pissed off, period. I would have been pissed off. What the F are you doing there? You know what I mean? I think that's, I don't think that's kosher. I just don't. So, and I'm sorry if you disagree with me out there. Maybe some of you do. Maybe some of you don't. I just don't think that that's something. If it was my company, I don't want you going over to my direct competitor who calls the company shit and calls the previous owner shit and all this other stuff. And, we're going to take them down. All they've done is steal a lot of established names. Let me know when they get another MJF. You know what? That would help them. That's what they need to do. They need to grow another MJF, to have more than one guy that I actually really want to see. Because I don't want to see a show closing. I think I mentioned it on Stu's podcast from Ireland. I don't want to see Jeff Jarrett closing a Wednesday night program. Don't call yourself the future of wrestling when you're sending Jeff Jarrett out there, or Chris Jericho on his 57th beer. I'm not interested in that. Show me what you got for the future.
Speaking of that, Jericho, by the way, if anyone didn't catch it, Jimmy was on Stu's Pro Wrestling podcast, which was a fantastic interview. So if anybody gets a chance it's a great listen. Jimmy, you were off the hook. Your comments were fantastic. Another well-done job. One thing is, I was thinking last night, because I actually turned on AEW, and Jericho was doing the Learning Tree gimmick, and I kept saying to myself, I actually think I tweeted it from the Monty DeFaro page. I wish the Learning Tree would tell Chris Jericho to retire already. I mean, enough. Got to know when to call it a day, bro. It's like Chris Jericho has invented himself 1,000,000 times. Guess what? The 1,000,001 time, it's over. You look like a shriveled up old man. Look, he looks in great shape for his age, okay?
Of course.
But he looks old. He looks tired. It's enough. Yeah. Be done.
Yeah, you got to know where you're at with your physicality. I mean, when Goldberg returned after being gone for so long and had that awesome shock, quick, finish of Lesnar, Goldberg was ripped. You could buy into it. It's Chris Jericho in his prime, and even in his later years, before the whole what we see now, was one of the greatest wrestlers that ever lived. He was a great storyteller. He's a great mic man, but he looked great. He looked great, and he could do things that were separated him from everybody else.
He is damaging his career now, Jimmy.
Look, he's doing, and if he keeps it up, he's got a while to go before he gets to that age, and bless him if he does. But he's starting to do a Ric Flair. It's like, dude, stop. Ric Flair should have stopped the moment Shawn Michaels' boot hit his face. Should have stopped. That would have been the perfect ending. He puts over Shawn. It's a great match. It's got all the drama. It's beautiful. Beautiful. Leave it alone. But they never do.
You know what
they never do.
I'm thinking about this, Jimmy. I was thinking about the whole Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné Bayley thing. I was thinking about, Bret Hart gets beat up for taking everything so seriously. You know what?
Right.
That was his profession. The more and more I think about it, he took it seriously because he wanted to be the best in his profession. It doesn't matter that it's a scripted event. You still want to be the best that you ever can be. The best there was, the best there ever will be, right?
Right. Well, look, Bret Hart is the keeper of the flame. Okay, for everything that I love about pro wrestling and everything that the traditionalists love about pro wrestling, he's the keeper of the flame, man. He's the guy at the main gate guarding the castle, and he always will be, one way or the other. And I know this much: you were you made me stand out in crappy ass weather to make sure that we got to meet Bret Hart, and I thank you for it.
In the end, it was worth it, right? At the time, it was like, get me the hell out of here. In the end, you go, it's worth it.
It was worth it, and you know what? We caught him in a decent mood. Bret's always like right here, like getting close to being scowling and stuff. But Bret Hart was very cool, and that was great. And I'm glad we got to do that.
Me too. The Kiss that we're all aware of the kiss between Liv Morgan and Dom on Monday Night Raw. Did you watch that, Jimmy? Did you catch it?
Yeah, I did. I got to see that. Yes, I did. Wow, I kind of like that. There's something very old school about that, right, Mike? I mean,
well, I was
pretty
watching
cool.
Raw, and it was a quick cut, so you don't see it. And then I found out on social media the next morning that there was a kiss. And again, it goes back to the match itself in the steel cage, which we'll speak about in a second, was at best.
Right.
But the kiss made it all that more memorable.
Yep, that was great. You know what I was thinking too? Somewhere down the road, Dominic has to become a face at some point in his career. Let's be realistic, you know. I'm assuming the man's going to be doing this, the young man's going to be doing this for the next 20 plus years, you know. So I was thinking to myself, what would make Dom a face? And apparently this is not the thing, right? Because is Rhea heading towards a big face turn? I mean, what's the story here? Because she's not going to be happy about that shit.
The whole thing is, I don't know what's going to go on Judgment Day yet. It's so very. Right. I got to tell you something. Wrestling has been good for such a long time now. They've got you guessing at every turn. Just like you said, I don't know. I don't know if Rhea comes back a bad guy. I don't know if she comes back a good guy. I mean, I'm assuming they're going to make her a good guy. I'm assuming Liv is going to join Judgment Day. I mean, there's no doubt if Rhea wrestles Liv at SummerSlam, Dominic's going to turn on Rhea, even though you think he's on Rhea's side. And this will be the whole, you know. The problem is, though, Jimmy, I got to be honest with you. I've become a very big fan of Liv Morgan, but she's not a very good wrestler, dude.
She's men's and men's. She's okay. She's nothing spectacular. I've become a fan of hers, too, because she looks better than she ever has at this point in her career. She looks fantastic, and she's really pretty good at being a heel. And I'm liking that. You know, that's something that, as a face, it's almost too cutesy-wootsy. There's none of that going on now, and I really like that coming out of her. I think she's doing really good as a heel. I hope she stays that way for quite a while.
Well, here's an interesting thing. The one great thing about the WWE now is they integrated social media into their storylines, right? So there was a point this week where Liv Morgan on her Instagram, she put up the women's title and its caption, "By any means necessary." And that's not such a big deal, right? But the big deal is Dominic Mysterio responded with a smiley face emoji.
Nice.
So, you know, these people who are trolling, and I'm not one of them, right? They see this, and it's like these Easter egg things, and you just don't know what's happening.
It's perfect. They're taking today's tools on the internet and using them correctly. That's perfect. It's perfect.
Also recently on our friends on Busted Open Radio, Bully Ray along with Dave LaGreca. Bully Ray, well, you know, we all know that Jordynne Grace made an appearance on NXT. Real quick thoughts on Jordynne Grace, man.
What a specimen. She should go real far. I don't know what you think about her, but I think she's fantastic. She'll make a great power match for some of the bigger ladies in the division. I'm all for it. It's a great catch. If she comes on board full time with us.
I've seen some interviews with her. I'm not so sure about her mic skills. They seem to be a bit weak. She could probably use some help there. Look wise, incredible. I agree with you. Definitely could be, Flair, Rhea Ripley type of thing. But she's pushing for more intergender tag team matches. And when I mean intergender, man-woman against man-woman. Bully Ray on Busted Open also said he's been pushing for intergender matches. Thoughts on that?
Not my thing. And that's no reflection on how I look at either sex. Just not my thing. I'm really not that interested in it. I've never liked it that much in the past. They've done a little bit of it. Didn't we see Cena and Miz, et cetera, with their women?
Sure.
Whatever, man. You're gonna have to. Okay, I tell you what. If you're gonna do it, please think out of the box. Who's ever thinking about this? If they are thinking about this in WWE, please think out of the box. Don't give us what we've seen before. Okay, do something outside the box. I don't even know what that is because I'd have to really sit and think about it for a while. I can't just throw out ideas off the cuff about something that important. But if you're gonna do something like that, please give us something we've never seen before. Give us something fresh in the approach. It's always so It's always so safe every time there's one of these, or predictable. It's always got the same damn outcome every time. You always know which side is going to win it. All right, whether it was Miz Cena or Edge and his wife, et cetera, et cetera. You always know who's going to wind up winning the war at the end. So it's like, stop, think outside the box, and maybe we'll be onto something.
That's a really good point, right? I'm not a big fan. Like, on the specialty matches, yes, kind of fun. Totally get it.
Right.
As a regular gimmick, I don't think I'm a major fan. But here's a funny thing. No. So when I was listening to Busted Open, they were critiquing the Liv Morgan Becky Lynch match, which I'm going to give you that critique, and I actually agree with it. Their opinion was, if you're going to start raking people's against the face against a cage, they got to bleed. And they're old school, right? And the cage was always the blow-off show, and you always got blood.
Right.
I don't think it's a great idea for women to bleed, right? They got beautiful faces. We don't want to scar up their faces, right? They're money makers, all right? And there's more important things than bleeding. I get it.
Right.
So their big thing is they felt that when you start raking faces against a cage, you kind of screw up the cage match. They should have stayed away from that. Thought about that.
I agree. You should bleed when that happens, period. And can't they just call Gene Simmons and get a couple of his blood capsules? You don't got to bleed. We're past that now. You can figure out other ways to get that effect going. What do you just bite into a blood capsule, smear it on your face when you get your face mushed into the turnbuckle or something? Well,
Jimmy, the bigger problem I had, like, it was a very good comment. I agreed with it. But in the same breath, will Bully Ray say, I want to see intergender matches? It's not realistic that a woman faces a man. I mean, I know we got away with it with China back in the day. Okay?
Right.
Again, when a woman is body slamming a 250-pound man, I mean, let's get realistic here. We had Ulysses on, right? Ulysses, 180-pound guy, right? Guy's a beast.
Right.
Beast.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
But understand that a 260-pound man in shape,
right,
Ulysses is going to have a hard time beating up a trained 260-pound fighter, regardless how tough Ulysses. And that's not knocking Ulysses, all right? Weight means something. It goes back to the old Andre Bruce Lee thing. We always discuss that. Could Bruce Lee beat up Andre the Giant? I always say no.
Right. Well, if he gets a hold of Bruce Lee is tonight's dinner. And and if you think Andre couldn't manage for one moment to grab him somewhere and pull him close to him, you're wrong. Especially, are we talking about a younger Andre? I mean, the Andre the Giant in the 1970s was a hell of an athlete. People seem to forget that. Guy played soccer when he was 17. The guy was immense. I'm sorry, if he's grabbing you, might makes right, and you're in big trouble, man. You're like, for example, too, if Ulysses, who was a great guest, by the way, if Ulysses walks into a bar and there's Sheamus, don't F with him. I mean, if he grabs a hold of you, you might have yourself a problem. You might have yourself a big problem, or a Drew McIntyre or a Randy Orton. You might have a problem. These guys are huge. It's the bottom line. The only way you can defeat somebody bigger than you is to cut them down to size. That's the only thing you can do. You got to stay the F away from them and basically mosquito them to death with your hands and your feet, and then try to get them off their feet. Other than that, and I can't see Bruce doing that, because even though Bruce was the greatest at it, Andre's going to grab him that one split second, and then what happens? What do you do when there's 400 to 500 plus pounds on you? What are you going to do?
Jimmy, I love that comment, though. Mosquito somebody. I love that comment, because even at 180 pounds, it takes a lot more to hurt a 260-pounder. Right? You get my point? I love that word, mosquito, because that's what it is. It's like you got to chip away a lot more work. Chip,
Right. I mean, look, it's as old as time, too. How did David defeat Goliath? He kept his distance, right? And he figured out, I can hit him with an object that I don't got to get near him. Everybody's always gotten near this giant Goliath who stands across the valley and destroys all of our people. I ain't going to get near him. I'm going to stand away from him.
Well done.
You got to be a very smart mosquito, Mike.
All right, I'm going to say this. It may not be popular, but this has been bothering me a long time. And you and I haven't had a real chance to talk about it.
All
I
right.
have a real issue with female referees refereeing men matches. You talked about realism, right? You go back to Bully Ray and LaGreca talking about raking the forehead against the cage. It's not realistic. It's not realistic, a woman controlling two behemoths in a ring.
That's interesting. I got to admit, the first time I saw it, I thought to myself, okay, here comes some more change. You know, as every generation experiences it. As you get older, the things that you're used to are being changed. So the first time I saw that, I was like, okay, here comes another change. Oh well, what am I going to do about it? Whatever. I didn't even have strong feelings, any kind of feelings. I was like, okay, whatever. Here we go. But I will say this, and I find it interesting your take on it because you'll be shocked at mine. It doesn't bother me.
Wow.
I've become quite used to it. Some of them are very, very good at what they do. And look, it's pro wrestling. If you can't get what has always happened with referees, look at Gilberto Roman. You remember Gilberto Roman,
Yes.
He'd sit there and scream and yell and point up at them because he was a short man of stature and point up. If they just fling him to the side, you get DQ'd. The end. What's the referee? How often has a referee stepped in and been like, I don't think so, and start smacking around the wrestler? That never happens unless it's a special referee, usually, for the most part. You know what I mean? Who's the wrestler? So it's not bothering me. It's really not.
And by the way, it's a really good point. They do a fantastic job. But again, you lose an element of, how many matches back in the day, Jimmy, would they beat up the referee? You know what I mean? Or push the referee, or punch the referee to get DQ'd.
Right.
Now you can't. Now you can't touch the woman, right?
Why don't they bring that back and do it anyway? What are you going? A few people are going to scream on the internet. It's a script. It's a show. Let them blast the female referee if she gets in the way. They're professionals. I don't think that they'll hurt her, and I think she'll be taught in the back how to take one and make it look good. They're pros at this. Let them go do it. I don't see the big deal. I really don't. I don't see the big deal if they interfere and hit the referee, whether it's man or woman, or if a woman slaps a male referee, go for it. If it's part of the script and it fits, go for it.
I want to remind everybody at 9 p.m. AWA legend Greg Gagne in studio. We're really looking forward to it. All right, we're on a little bit of time restraint. Jimmy, we'll get our stuff down here though. King and Queen of the Ring. Let's just grade the matches. I'll read them to you. Give a grade and a quick recap, please.
Go ahead.
Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill defeat Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell to retain their titles.
Serviceable, great finisher from those two, Cargill and Belair. Give it a C+.
Hell of a finisher. Right. Totally agree with you. I'll give it a C+ also. Liv Morgan defeats Becky Lynch via pinfall to win the title.
Very, very good. Enjoyed it very much. Excellent match. I would say that it was really good. I won't go as far as I'll give it a B.
All right, I'm going to give it a B-, but I agree with you. We're close.
Yeah, it was good.
Sami Zayn defeats Chad Gable and Bronson Reed via pinfall to win to retain the title. I'm sorry.
Right. I knew that outcome would be what it was. I mean, he's a hero over there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was a hero over there. That was a great match. Really enjoyed that very much. I'll go with a B. You know what? That's an A.
Wow, nice. I'm going to give it a B, but nice, good call. I'm giving it a B because I wanted Bronson Reed to win the match.
Right.
Nia Jax defeats Lyra Valkyrie via pinfall, become Queen of the Ring, and now she gets a title shot at Bayley at SummerSlam.
Glad she won. She should have won, and she did. She's a splendid villain, Queen of the Ring. But the match was all right.
Doesn't matter always what the match is. It matters what the ending is. And that was a vicious squash if I've ever seen one in my life.
Right.
Nia Jax, if she's not hurting people for real, she looks like she's hurting people for real.
Yep. What's your grade?
I gave it a B.
Okay. Go ahead.
Gunther defeats Randy Orton to become King of the Ring.
This was my favorite match of the night. I just love it. It was the right winner. Gunther deserves to have that happen. I also loved how he immediately shot down the "You deserve that chance," as it was pointed out to me. That was fantastic. I was looking for that. That was great. Gunther's the man. I mean, it's just another step before he eventually becomes world champion, hopefully.
Gunther is gold, dude. Gunther is gold.
Yeah, he is gold. And Randy, of course, is Randy. Randy once again delivers. You know, his shoulder was up, though. I heard about that. His shoulder was up. But, yeah, that's an A.
Just use it for a later storyline. What does it matter? It's like, whatever.
Right. Excellent match.
Cody Rhodes defeats Logan Paul. Real quick, though, before you give me that grade on that, Cody Rhodes said he'd like to have a manager during his title reign, and Arn Anderson has left AEW. Thoughts on that? Will Arn Anderson become the new manager of Cody Rhodes?
You just gave me goosebumps. Well done. You know what goosebumps mean, don't you? Do I really have to say any more? I got goosebumps.
Wow.
Let's have
goosebumps over Cody Rhodes and Arn Anderson.
What? Goosebumps over the idea of Arn Anderson managing Cody Rhodes during his run. I like that. Why wouldn't I like that? That's great.
That is pretty good. What'd you think of the Logan Paul-Cody Rhodes match?
I loved it. I thought it was awesome, but I love Logan Paul. Logan Paul's the man.
How great is Logan Paul, dude?
Logan Paul has this thing nailed. I look at him as a veteran. Should I be the first one to proclaim him a veteran? Because everybody's always like, he's not a wrestler. He's a part-time and this, that, and the other thing. He has every facet of what makes a great heel down. His physical look is fantastic. His mic work is outstanding. And his moves in the ring, he's perfect. There's nothing wrong with Logan Paul. I might even start drinking his stupid juice or whatever the hell he's got.
I'm not touching that stuff. All right, Jimmy, we're going to call it a night. We're going to meet everybody at 9 o'clock where we got AWA legend Greg Gagne in studio. Well done once again. Great commentary. Anything you want to leave before we go?
I'm just really psyched about Greg, pretty much. We got a lot of great guests coming up, too, so there's a lot to look forward to on this channel. That's for sure.
Damn straight, brother. Damn straight.
Yes, sir.
Before the Greg Gagne thing, I'm going to get myself a nice giant bowl of Frankenberry. And
a bowl of what?
Remember Frankenberry?
Frankenberry. Oh, yeah, with the Frankenstein guy. Yeah.
The pink Frankenstein guy.
The Frankenhead. Yeah.
Except my Frankenberry box has like a guy with like a tan and really bad veneers.
Wow.
I'm sorry.
What now that's more frightening than the original box.
A little more frightening. A bit.
Yeah, very interesting. When's the follow-up product coming out? Dingleberry.
What does Dingleberry come with?
Steaming chocolatey goodies
Ew.
for all the kiddies at home.
Enough. Now I'm sick. All right, guys, thanks for joining us. We'll see you at 9 o'clock with the great Greg Gagne. Thank you.